What are the best characters and teams to use per element in Another Eden? I'm David Wowee. How you going? A lot of people have asked me to do a best teams guide for Another Eden, so here are my personal picks, and some of these may shock you. A huge shout out and thank you to Best Boy for giving me awesome notes and feedback on this mammoth of a task, and thank you also to Sings Let It Go for helping me fine tune my final draft of throwing turds at my bad ideas. Before we start, there's some really important things you need to know. First up, this guide is mainly for players who need a broader understanding or refresher of how certain characters and team setups can work in Another Eden. Realistically, most super bosses you fight in this game will be unique, so you'll need to chop and change your characters and strategy according to who you're fighting. And sometimes, when battling an enemy, thinking of only one element may not always be the best idea, and in fact, you may even want to switch to an attack type team like Slash, Pierce, or Blunt. On top of that, the Astral Archives, which for new players are the challenges you can do in the tomes from the main menu, is its own beast, and every challenge requires very unique team setups. So the team in this guide may not be useful for Astral Archive challenges. In saying that, you'll still be able to learn some important stuff which will help you win a lot of this game. Also, about teams with only free characters, although Another Eden has some great free characters, they don't have enough great free characters to make entire elemental teams. I spent hours thinking of potential free teams for Crystal and Shade and so forth. To be honest, I got stuck, so I put a bunch of random characters together, but thankfully Things Let It Go saw my half-baked suggestions and all over them. I do recommend a free fire team though, so just have fun with this video and see it as a rough but important guide that you can modify to your own situation, and of course share your own favorite teams in the comments. If you're wondering who the best individual characters are and not just teams, I'll share with you a great tier list that I'll recommend later in this vid, so stay tuned for that. Now let's get to the guide. Let me tell you a secret. If you know how to build a good team, your life in this game will be much easier, so listen carefully. Best Boy shared with me a great rule of thumb when coming up with teams. Of course, this is just a general rule and every situation is different, but when setting up your team, try to include 2 attack units. When looking at the skill sets of these units, make sure they have skills that can deal at least 3 multi-hits. This is great for building another force and for maintaining another force when it's activated. When looking for offensive supports, Best Boy believes you should have characters with the following attributes in their kits: 100% power and intelligence buffs, some kind of enemy defense rating skill, weapon damage up buffs, type damage up buffs, mental and singular focus abilities, and critical damage up. I'm much less technical than Best Boy and usually just pick the offensive support with the most detailed thigh belt. Anyway, besides these 2 damage dealers, have 1 tank to defend everyone, and finally 1 offensive support to help your attack units deal even more damage. And of course, it'll be great if 1 or more of these characters can set and awaken your elemental zone, be able to restore HP and MP, and inflict pain or poison. If they can't, make sure you have a sidekick that can. You'll see what I mean soon. Let's look at fire teams. For the fire element, I personally think a fire slash team is currently the best. Minalka Novastyle is my favorite damage dealer. She's a fire slash who's insane. So insane that she actively hurts herself in battle, so you need to balance this out and be aware of her stacks to increase her damage dealt. She can set and awaken Raging Fire Stance and has a unique countering gimmick. I did a guide on her, so check it out after this. Then support her with Renry Alter, who like Minalka AES can set and awaken Raging Fire Stance. She can deal some pretty decent team-wide buffs while also greatly enhancing the character on her right, so make sure to put Minalka AES on her right. If you don't have her, another personal favorite of mine, and thanks Sings Let It Go for bringing her up, is a Stellar Awakened Tsukiha. To amplify and support the setup, you can use a Stellar Awakened Seti, who has some defensive and debuff skills and is even a decent attack unit himself. You can also swap him out with the Stellar Awakened Rosetta, who can be a healer, defense trader, zone setter, and pain setter. Another damage dealer you can use is True Manifest Ewan, especially if you're facing a single boss enemy. Another more creative approach, as recommended by Frodsing, is Thililila EES. She's not fire, but in this instance you can use her with a skill like Promised Land, where you can give some sick buffs to the team, including single and mental focus, and give your damage dealer like Minalka AES an extra skill hit counter. Stay tuned for my favorite crystal team, where I talk about her even more. With fire team sidekicks, I switch between Tetra AES for the auto heals, revives, and buffs, or Moki for its debuff abilities. Horrible is an okay free sidekick that can work with fire teams and has some AF gauge support. And of course, this here who can provide HP and MP regen, team buffs, and an enemy debuff. For free teams, I would often use Aldo or Aldo Novastyle as my key damage dealer, then match him with Kid, even though though is now an ancient character, is still awesome at buffing, debuffing, and dealing a little bit of damage. She's so good that you can still see pro players use her to this day. Then Pry as the tank and Asha as the pain, poison, and zone setter. If you thought fire was wild, how about earth? I've got two great teams for you. If you want a physical earth team, you can lead it with Sirius as your main damage dealer. Sirius is an earth pierce unit who can set and awaken piercing flash stance. He's definitely most useful when you still awaken him, but when you do, it'll be worth it. Check my guide. Then you can amplify his damage with Immune for Alter. Immune for Alter is a much older character but remains one of the best supports to this day. She can be both an awakened magic fate stance and torn earth stance setter. She has some buffs for earth teams, but in saying that, she's great even with non-earth teams, and she can give defense buffs to the character on the left and attack buffs to the character on her right. So make sure in this case you put Sirius on her right. As your second damage dealer, you could add Komachi Anorastol, who is also an earth pierce unit, who's barrier pierce and can also deploy torn earth stance. As your support, healer, and defense all in one, you could go with a Stellar Awakened Mirrors. She can also deploy an awakened torn earth stance, give everyone defense and attack buffs, shred your enemy's defenses, recover your team's HP and MP, and her stellar skill can reverse any debuffs on you. You can also swap some characters out to make this more of a magic team. You can swap Komachi AS out with Kuchinawa and put him to Mion Falter's right instead as your main damage dealer instead of Sirius. I did a whole guide on him, but he's a fantastic earth type magic attack unit who happens to be a pain and poison setter, awakened torn earth stance setter, and decent enemy debuffer and defense shredder. You can also chuck in Raven AS in the team as another earth magic damage dealer alongside Kuchinawa. Raven AS is a rather selfish DPS, so don't expect much support from him. As a sidekick, I often use Moki for its debuff abilities. Chuck in Kumos if you want the MP regen, or Tetra if you want the HP regen and revive. If you think Earth Element is a lot of fun, you know what's even more fun? Wet stuff. Let's look at Water Team. For me personally, I still go with the classic Slash team, which is fantastic as some of the best characters in this team are older characters that don't need to be Stellar Awakened. Remember those days before Stellar Awakening existed when Another Eden fans were less angry? For the main damage dealer, I go with Philomena Extra Style because she has not one, not two, but three thigh belts and what's wet all over her face, and she's definitely wearing a conspicuous outfit for an assassin. Philomena AS is a pain setting water slash character who can set and awaken sacred water stats multiple times per battle. Her basic attack is great for mob clearing and she can deal incredible damage both to single and multiple enemies. You can support her with Mazrika. Maz is a water magic unit who can also set and awaken sacred water stance. She can give decent team-wide buffs, enemy debuffs, can restore HP and MP, and most importantly, greatly boost the damage of the character on her right. So in this case, you can put Philomena ES on her right, or if you want, the second DPS I'm about to suggest, Hismena Alter. Like Philomena ES, Hismena Alter is an older character that at the time of this video currently doesn't have Stellar Awakening. She's water slash too, can awaken any zone, and can shred enemy defenses with a weapon break, and even better, has skill multipliers. To amplify a team's damage, you can go with El Seal normal style or another style. For this water slash team, I typically use El Seal normal style. Frosting's Let It Go suggests that you can use Stellar Awaken El Seal AS if you're hitting on weak point, or if you want to do a switcheroo and shift this team from a slash team to include a bit more magic damage. For example, you can swap out any of your damage dealers with Ava or Gilfani, just making sure not to put Gilfani to the right of Mazrika as they have conflicting synergies. Depending on your strategy, you can add a Stellar Awaken Mighty to your water team as a defense shredder, damage amplifier, and healer. Remember, with Mighty's stellar skill, he'll give mental focus if you have 2 or more staff characters, and singular focus if you have 2 or more non-staff characters, so you may not be restricted to magic teams only. If you're enjoying this so far, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you're feeling generous, donate thanks or become a super member. Your support keeps this channel going. We've reached 6k subs and 2 million views now. Thank you to everyone who supported us so far. Hey, do you find farts funny? Or do you absolutely hate it when someone drops a big one? Whether you do or you don't, you're gonna have to accept that they'll always be around. Just like how you need to accept that wind is the best element in this game. If you stick to the general guide of 2 damage dealers, 1 support, and a tank, you can pretty much slot in most wind units Another Eden has given us in the past few years and do really well for yourself. Here's my A team. For your key wind DPS, there's none other than Sesta, another style baby. I've done a guide and talked about her plenty, but essentially she's the Sephiroth or Miyagi Yabi of this game. She's so good, it almost feels like cheating when you use her against bosses. Now the rest of the team I'll suggest can both support Sesta AS and work independently to do their own thing. We've got Tsubame Alta, who can set and awaken, win king stance, buff the team, and most importantly, give incredible buffs to the character on her right, who in this case would be Sesta AS. After her, we've got Suzette Akis, who can set and awaken, win king stance, give a shield to everyone, buff the team, increase and restore HP and MP, debuff enemies, and deal a bunch of damage. Throw in Shigure Extra Style, who works as this crazy hybrid tank, debuffer, and damage dealer. Just know he's awesome, alright? This is my dream team, but these are just 4 of many other fantastic wind units. Sesta normal style is still a great wind damage dealer, and I was surprised they gave us Sesta another style, as I thought Sesta normal style was already broken. If you want to go back in time, Yifa AS is still a great support for not only wind damage dealers, she's pretty much great with any elemental character and can improve their damage tremendously. If you don't have Suzette Akis, you can throw in another older character who I personally still use, Melody another style, I've spoken about at length in the past. Another good mention is the newish character Nekoko Extra Style. She's another all-in-one who can set and awaken Wind King stance, debuff enemies, and shred their defenses, while also giving a shield and fantastic buffs to the entire team. Wind is great, but I think one of the coolest teams to watch when battling out is a solid Thunder team. Now let me tell you how you can have a tight, super powerful Thunder team. When it comes to Thunder, I say pick Oboro as your MVP damage dealer, who's considered by a lot of the community as the best Thunder Slash in the game so far. And you've got 2 great Thunder characters who can support both Oboro and the entire team. The first is either Villette or Villette another style. I did a guide on Villette AS that talks about the main differences between her and Villette NS, but essentially both are great at boosting your Thunder team's damage, but Villette AS can lean more towards shredding your enemy's defenses and making them weaker against Thunder. Anyway, both Villette and Villette AS combined with their sidekicks Gunts and Gunts another style are peak. Take your pick with the next damage dealer between Urpalka, Izuna, and Shion ES, with Urpalka and Izuna, in my opinion, being the better of the 3. I've done guides on Izuna and Shion ES, so check them out after this. I often use Urpalka in bigger battles when I want a big topless dude who looks like The Rock to fight alongside me, and I often use Izuna if I want rapid another force, or from clearing mobs and master difficulty, as she can fill your AF bar on turn 1 if you have a Thunder team, or at least bring it to 50% if you have a mixed team. Now your Thunder team needs an amplifier. In this case, let's use Olaya another style. She's so great, and once again, as of the time of this video, she's not even a Stellar Awakened character. She's great as a plain old level 80 character. Bro, I miss those days. She's designed to put Thunder teams at a great advantage in battle. She's a Thunder Slash unit who can set and awaken Thundering stance, buff your team's damage, debuff your enemies, restore the team's HP and status ailments, reduce the damage inflicted on your team. However, one of the gimmicks is kind of a double-edged sword in that because she has tank attributes, she inflicts rage on enemies, but then takes a huge amount of damage in return. And if you're fighting a pain in the ass boss like the one from the Tower of Wisdom, you could find her dying quickly if you don't get your strategy right. And for a sidekick, of course, I'd use Gunts or Gunts another style. If you've got Villette, I personally like Gunts normal style, as they can set and awaken Thundering stance multiple times through battle and just help my Thunder team deal insane amounts of damage. Anyway, if you thought building a Thunder team was interesting, wait until you see Crystal, my friend. Crystal is unique in that its best characters, Alma another style and Thililili extra style, don't necessarily need a Crystal team to smash and work well in all sorts of combinations of teams. But for the sake of this exercise, let's look at a complete Crystal team of Alma another style, Thililili ES, Ava or Duiakis, and Nina. Besides Nina, you can take your pick as to who your main damage dealers and support will be, as the beautiful thing about these Crystal characters is that they all have hybrid style characteristics that they can fulfill multiple roles at once. For example, Alma AS can, if you set her up right, deal some sweet damage and at the same time be the team's tank, HP and MP healer, enemy defense shredder and debuffer, and awaken crystalline stance setter. Her gimmick is that she can transform your enemies to have a weakness against your attack type. On top of that, she has this wild shield and counter ability that in some instances can make her almost invincible, if not completely invincible, making her an S tier character alongside Sesta another style. Thilila ES is a Crystal Slash damage dealer who at the same time can set and awaken crystalline stance, inflict pain, debuff enemies, and most importantly, buff your team. In fact, many players use her purely as a support for all kinds of teams, not limited to Crystal. The Promised Land skill I mentioned earlier when putting her in a fire team is a good example of this. Ava, a global anniversary character who has an awesome side quest by the way, is a more straightforward magic DPS who recently has both a True Manifest and Stellar Awakening upgrade, giving her a lot more replayability. She can deal either water or crystal magic damage and has a great gimmick magic where if the enemy's HP is above 50%, she'll attack again at no MP cost. She can buff your team's crystal and water attack, provide a little bit of healing, and has an insane skill multiplier if your enemy is weak against her element. If you don't have Eva, you can try Dewey Akis. I did a full guide on him, but he can be used as a DPS, elemental support, or both. Using his signature attack skill to its max potential can be a pain in the butt to execute, but some people use him as a support. He can set Raging Fire stance or Crystalline stance, and even awaken any elemental stance. He can debuff the enemy and improve your team's weakness multipliers. He's not the easiest to use, but I put him in here because he's Dewey, and people love Dewey. Lastly, you can use Nina. She's a crystal type magic attack unit. He can set and awaken Crystalline stance, improve your team's attack and defense, debuff and inflict exposed crystal on your enemies, and deal a little bit of damage herself. Plus she plays around with strings and stuff. I guess that's really good. As a sidekick, you can't go wrong with Moki for reasons I've already mentioned, and since Moki is Thililila ES's sidekick, having Thili on the team alongside Moki allows you to give your team Lunatic Mind's Eye, and also activates her sword wielding savior mode. And don't forget Jilia, Nilia's official sidekick. He passively deals crystal magic attacks on enemies while reducing their resistances, and he can restore your team's HP and MP by 100% and revive allies. Last and certainly the shadiest, we have Shade. Yay! Before we get into Shade, if you want to see a tier list that's much more thought out than the one you see in the wiki, join my Discord and go to the Another Eden tier list section. Here, APG Annihilator was generous enough to share his personal tier list for gacha, free, and Stellar Awakened characters. It's free to join my Discord, join to chat about Another Eden and other games I cover, or Conquer Star Rail, Stellar Zone Zero, and whatever game you want. It's great that they're gradually giving us more Shade love, as it was kind of getting stale and dark and damp in here, which is totally unlike the armpits of Isuka Akis as well as Clughorn. My suggested damage deal is for a pure Shade team. Clughorn is a newer character who we've been wanting to become playable for years. Thankfully, they didn't let us down with his multi-hit Shade piercing unit who also has tank abilities. He can set and awaken Moonlight stance, meaning that he can work best with Thunder, Crystal, and Shade units, making him flexible for different elemental teams. For the sake of this video, we're putting him in a Shade team. Check out my first impressions video for more details into his skill set, but just think of him as a character who can deal a crap ton of damage multiple times while also giving himself tank abilities that can take the damage from the team. As your fellow damage dealer, let's look at Isuka Akis. She's not an S tier damage dealer like Sesta AS, but with what we currently have available, she will do, and she's actually quite fun to play, especially with the right squad behind her. She's a Shade slash character, and I did a short first impressions guide on her, but essentially she can deal quite a bit of damage, but the catch is she actively reduces her own defenses, making her extremely vulnerable. She can also set and awaken biting Shade stance, which is why it's great to have Varus in your team. I also did a guide on him, but he's a Shade slash tank. Essentially what he's great at is providing shield to teams, especially physical attack type teams. I think they designed him specifically for Isuka Akis. To amplify Clughorn and Isuka Akis' damage and make the team so much better, you can choose between two characters. The first is Tuva Extra Star. To be honest, I don't really know what she does, but look at her, bro. She's an undead mummy with purple hair who probably smells like earth, old people, and weird ancient perfume. What else do you want? Seriously though, she's an older character. Obviously in terms of story, she's super old, but she's also older as in it's been quite some time since she was released. She's not even Stellar Awakened, but she's still fantastic. Her prayer skill gives Link, allowing your party members to have an extra Shade type attack after attacking moves, which is perfect for Clughorn and Isuka Akis. She also restores the team's HP and MP, improves the team's damage, and shreds your enemy's resistance to Shade. And finally, we've got none other than Iffy. She used to be the top tier character for a long time, and she's still a solid character. In fact, you may want her soon, as since she's a global anniversary character, we predict she'll get a Stellar Awakening upgrade soon. Let's just hope it's a good one. Iffy is a biting Shade stance setter who, through her skill Rosa Liliac, can inflict pain and poison while also weakening your enemy's power, intelligence, and speed and type resistance. Her Nocturnal Possession skill greatly increases the power, intelligence, and speed of your team while also preventing knockback. And most importantly, the best part about Iffy is that she can instantly revive knocked out characters. How about Shade team's sidekicks? Besides Moki and Tetra, who can provide auto healing and shields for Isuka Akis, Kumos or Kumos another style can be useful for a Shade team, as he can inflict Shade resistance, power, intelligence, and speed debuffs on your enemies, plus auto regenerate some MP should you need it. And that is all. Oh wait, there's one more element, and it is of course non-elements. But then since there are no non-element zones, you can't really build a solid non-element team. Sure, Xianhua is a non-element magic character, but you'd have to build a team around her that's focused on a different element or attack type, such as magic fate stance. So then it becomes a magic hit team and not a non-element team, which is a topic for an entirely different video. Just know Shan was great. So who are your favorite characters at the moment? Another Eden gets new characters every few weeks, so don't forget to like and subscribe to stay tuned. By the way, this video was a mammoth of a task to make, and it literally took dozens of hours to put together. So if you're feeling generous, like, sub, donate a thanks, or become a super member for extra content, and check out my other vids. You're gonna love them.